Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Tony with the Quick Tech Solutions channel, and in this video I just want to show you how I have WAN Failover set up on my Grandstream GCC6010 device. Now, about 2.5–3 weeks ago, I switched out my Ubiquiti Edge Router 6P, which has been a very solid daily driver for me. It's been in production for the last 5 years. However, I wanted to actually migrate my entire network over to Grandstream. I already have the Grandstream access points, so the next step for me was to swap out the routers. So I did that about 2.5–3 weeks ago, and I thought I migrated everything over, but I did forget one thing, and that was the WAN failover. And I didn't realize I forgot it until just last evening when my wife and I were watching TV and the internet went down, the ISP, the main ISP went down, and I was sitting there thinking, well, it should fail over in a few seconds, hon, so just, be patient. And then when it didn't fail over, it occurred to me that I forgot to enable that feature on the Grandstream GCC. So I did it, and I wanted to share that with you, and it's super easy, so let's get started. All right, so I'm signed into my Grandstream GCC6010. We're going to come over to the networking tab, and then in the left menu, we're going to come down to where it says routing, and we're going to click on policy routes. Now, there's load balance pool and policy routes. There's 2 tabs. We're going to be working in both of these tabs. Now, by default, Grandstream adds this default load balance route, which if you look at it, I'll take you inside of it. It basically just is sending all the traffic out, all the WAN it's just balancing it across all the WAN interfaces based on connection. Now you see here we do have the option of backup. What I did was I created this one here called WAN Failover. You can see the mode is backup. I'm using 2 interfaces because I only have 2 providers, even though the device is set up with 3 WAN interfaces. The third one is disabled. And then you can see the weighting is 10, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So let me go into the edit screen, and you can see it's pretty straightforward. For the mode, instead of using load balance, I have it set to backup. My balancing strategy is connection based. So you have 3 choices: connection based, source IP, source and destination IP addresses, and then there's an explanation here. So you have the option, but for this, we're going to use connection based. The preferred interface will be my primary ISP, which I have labeled as Focus Broadband, and I weighted it with a weight of 10. So it says here, the default is 1. Enter a value from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest weight, meaning 10 is going to get the highest priority. And then my alternate interface is my other WAN interface, which is with AT&T Fiber. Again, I weighted it at 10, and then I hit save. So that's my load balance rule. And then if we come over into the policy routes, I added this rule just by clicking the add button. And you can see it's enabled. It's using IPv4. The protocol type is all, and I'll show you that in a second. The source group, and then we'll come over into the edit mode of this rule here, and I just called it WAN Failover Policy. You can call it whatever you like. Make sure it's enabled. Since I'm not using IP version 6, I just selected IPv4, but you could leave it set to any. It's up to you. Protocol type is all, but you could select the different protocols. And then under source group, if I click on here, you can see there are all of my networks or all of my VLANs. So because this is a failover situation, I want all of these networks that are going out. Normally the primary ISP, when the primary ISP goes down, I want all these networks just by default to go out the secondary ISP. So I left this set to all. But you can pick and choose or set up different rules here to pick and choose how you want to send out different traffic. But in any event, that's how I did it here. Very straightforward, very basic. Then you could also do it by source IP address or by destination IP address. And then you have your load balance. What this is here is it's basically saying in this field here, you have to tell this rule that you're setting up which load balance policy you wanted to use from the previous page. So obviously I want my failover policy here to use the WAN failover rule. You could set a schedule if you want, but I did not, and then I hit save. And that's how I ended up with the load balancing policy here, which I set up to be a failover, and then the rule here, which I directed all of my internal networks to go out and pay attention to this rule right here. In the event my first ISP goes down, they will all default over to the second ISP. So that's pretty much it. It's pretty much that easy using policy-based routing on the Grandstream GCC6010. I did test it and it works like a charm. When I pulled the plug on ISP1, it switched over to ISP2 within literally 6 failed ping. I ran the persistent ping and I was watching it, and it failed 6 times, and then all of a sudden it started getting successful replies. So it failed over very quickly. And yes, the question that you're probably going to ask is, does it automatically fail back when ISP1 comes back online? And the answer to that is yes. In fact, it does that even quicker with the priority level set to 10. Obviously, it failed back over in 3 failed ping attempts. So once I plugged ISP1 back in, it realized it was plugged back in. It dropped 3 ping requests and then immediately picked up. Now, the other question you may be asking is, how do you know it's going out the primary ISP once the ping picks back up? Well, I did a trace route out to 1.1.1.1, and that confirmed that it was going out my main ISP. Now, I can't show you that because it'll expose my public IP address, but take it for what it's worth and just trust me on this one. It does work. So in any event, that's it. It's that quick. It's that simple. How to set up WAN failover on a GCC6010 using policy-based routing. Until next time, take care.